Good evening. For today's lesson, we're going to discuss the measure of central tendency of group data. This time, we're going to talk about the mode of group data. Measure of central tendency are members that represent the center of the set of data. The most common measure of central tendency, we have mean, we have median, and we have mode. This time, we are going to focus about our mode. The formula in getting our mode, we have the lower limit of your modal class plus the difference between the highest frequency and the frequency just above it, divided by the difference between the highest frequency and the frequency just above it, plus the difference between the highest frequency and the frequency just below it, multiplied your class size. Since we need those data, so we're going to get the class interval or the class size of our class interval. In getting the class size of our class interval, we just simply count how many numbers are in your class interval, are in the group of your class interval. So let's start. We have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Therefore, your class size of your class interval is 5. This time, we're going to proceed to our frequency. Our frequency of the following class interval, we have your first frequency of your first group, we have 4. Your second frequency of your second group is 2. Your third frequency of your third group is 5. Your fourth frequency of your group is 3. The fifth, we have 3, and the sixth we have 3. So a total class frequency of 20. So this time we're going to move on to class boundaries since we need to solve the class boundaries. So in getting the class boundaries, always remember that we are going to subtract zero point 0.5 in our lower limit and additional zero point 0.5 for your upper limit. Your lower limit are located in your class interval, which is a lower score of your class interval, and your upper limit is the numbers in your class interval, which is the highest score in your group, like this one, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. So your class boundaries are the combination of your lower limit and your upper limit. So let's start. So in your first group, 21 to 25, our class boundaries are 20.5 to 25.5. Your second group, which is 25 to 30, our class boundaries are 25.5 to 30.5. Your third group, which is 31 to 35, your class boundaries are 30.5 to 35.5. Your fourth group, we have 36 to 40. Our class boundaries are 35.5 to 40.5. Your fifth group, we have 41 to 45. Our class boundaries are 40.5 to 45.5. And your last group, which is 45.5, 46.5 to 50, your class boundaries are 45.5 to 50.5. So this time we're going to proceed to our D1, which is the difference between the highest frequency and the frequency just above it. If you can see, we have this class frequency. Our highest frequency is equal to 5. Always remember that frequency referring to above it are the frequency that is um, belongs to your class interval, which is a higher group, and below it are the frequency of your class interval, which is in a lower group. So just simply in getting the D1, we need to subtract 5 minus 3, that will give you 2. And the D2, which is the difference between the highest frequency and the frequency just below it, we have 5 minus 2, that will give you 3. So since we are done with our needed data, we're going to solve the mode of group data. So this time we need to use the formula. Your mode is equal to your lower modal class plus your D1 divided by your D1 plus D2 multiplied by your class size. So remember that your D1 is equal to 2 and your D2 is equal to 3. Okay, so our modal class is 5. Okay, since the highest frequency is 5, so our lower limit belongs to our modal class, which is 30.5, or your lower limit is 30.5 plus 2, which is your D1 divided by 2 plus 3, that is your D1 plus D2 multiplied by your 5, which is your class size of your class interval. So just simply multiply 2 times 5, that will give you 10. 3 plus 2 plus 3, that will give you 5. So that will give you 10 divided by 5. The answer is 2. Then add the lower limit, which is 30.5 plus 2, that will give you 32.5, and that is your mode. Remember that the answer of your mode must be in your class interval of your modal class. So, hope you learned something regarding on our discussion. And if you learn, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you have something to say, you can write any comments in my comment box. Thank you and God bless.